Hi everyone, and welcome to our session, Multiple Ways to Annoy My Tech Lead and How to Avoid It. Please scan the QR code to access Slido, because we will have some answers to make the session more interactive, to know who are you and your level of experience. The Q&A will be handled by Slido as well. Please go there. Okay, my name is Flávio Saraiva, and I'm an OutSystems Tech Lead at Team Resilience. I have a postgraduate degree in computer science and engineering, and I have 8 years of experience developing with OutSystems. I consider myself an OutSystems passionate, and I can proudly say that I have been annoyed by more than 30 juniors in my career. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Marjolein, and I'm an OutSystems developer at Team Resilience. I started working there together with Leon a year ago, and my background is a bachelor in medical sciences and a master in biomedical technology and physics. I annoyed 3 tech leads. I want to give a shout out to the first one, João Duque, which was the first one and probably the one I annoyed the most.
Hi, I'm Bakker. I'm also an OutSystems developer at Team Resilience. I have a bachelor's degree in AI and a master's in information sciences, also from VU. I've been working with Marjolein for at least half a year. I've been working both at Team Resilience for a year, and I annoyed João Duque a lot in the meantime. So here we have the first thing from our Slido. So if you can go to the results from the first question, we have the question, how long have you worked with OutSystems? So as you can see here, we have the majority of people either 1 to 3 years and less than 1 year. So it makes sense. We have a bunch of content for juniors, but also for seniors and how to handle their juniors. We have some tips and tricks on how to do that.
Yeah, it's 30, 26. Yeah, it's spread.
Then, where are the people from? Of course, we have a lot of people from the Netherlands, as we are from the Netherlands as well. Flávio is like half Dutch already, so that counts.
I don't know that country, Catarina Carneiro.
Catarina Carneiro, I will not pronounce it because I will be embarrassed. Some USA, that's also very interesting. And it's good that we have a wide spread of countries.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, we divide our session into 5 points. We will talk a little bit about the transition from bootcamps to projects. We will show some bad patterns and how to build applications in a right way. We have some tricks and tips for you to test your work properly. And after that, we'll have the wrap-up of the session with the key takeaways. And if we have time, let's see, maybe we will have some Q&A session. Okay. Okay, as you can see, they are really happy.
Amazing.
I'm not.
Well done.
Well done.
Okay, what is the biggest challenge for not juniors, but for junior elements that came out from the bootcamps? Is with OutSystems is pretty easy to make things and to develop and to start to deliver value. However, during the first times, it's really hard to be aligned with the best practices, and it's the role of a tech lead to provide you support and guidance for you to be better developers. For you, you need as well to be prepared. Okay, if you know that you will enroll in a project, a mobile one, or that you need to integrate with external data, you will need to understand and access the OutSystems training materials to be prepared. If you are onboarding in a project, you need to be prepared to understand and ask about the backlog, the wireframes, the documentation, because you will be more aligned what it's expected to deliver. And you need to ask support to the tech lead as well to provide you an overview of the architecture and what are the technical challenges. And if you do this, you will be prepared to be with the team in the field. Okay. Okay. In bootcamps, normally you start by developing one application, a simple one, and with 1 or 2 modules. For each application, you have everything inside, the tables, logic, tables not exposed to read-only, and everything is inside, which means that it's really hard to evolve that application. When we go to real projects, we need to build things for the future. When for one functional application, we will have multiple technical applications, and for each technical application, we'll have multiple modules that we should separate per functional domain. In your personal project, the code only needs to be understood by yourself, only needs to work once, and solves a specific use case. However, when you onboard in a project, you have a team, and the team needs to communicate without saying a word. What I mean with this is apply a naming convention for everything. Blocks, tables, attributes, structures, everything, because you don't need to explain what is that element. Okay, they will understand. For everything that you develop, please put some description, because it's really good to have some kind of context, what each element is supposed to do and what is the purpose. And if you are developing complex logic, include comments. Why? Because humans tend to forget things, and the best way to don't forget is to put some notes associated to a block of code, because it will be really helpful for you and for someone if he's reviewing your code. Okay? Last but not least, you need to test your code and see the impacts of your code in the application landscape. Okay? Because maybe you are developing something that is working, but integrating it will stop work something else. Okay, now I will hand over to Marjolein.
Yeah, thank you, Flávio. So I will give a little demo on how to build it right, because we all know how intuitive OutSystems is, and this makes it for juniors very, well, easy, not so easy, but they can make a working application. And when a tech lead will look behind the scenes in Surface Studio, it will see it's not really built right. It's not how it's supposed to be built. So let's go and move on to our application. So we built an application just for OSDC, so it's a banking app. And I logged in as Flávio right now, actually.
Oh, again, I don't believe. Yeah.
So I can go to the profile and I can see I logged in as Flávio, the big boss. And let me tell you, the first thing to annoy your tech lead with is calling him the big boss, because they don't like it. Try it, trust me, they don't like it.
Thank you.
And here you can see the only account that Flávio has. It's the Big Boss Secret Money account. He has quite a lot of money, so let's see what transactions he has made.
Rich man.
And he has bought some pastéis de nata with a high priority, apparently, and it cost 500 euros. So this is what the app looks like. A lot of pastéis de nata. Yes, exactly. You can transfer money, so I think, Leon, you deserve some money.
I do.
Let's send it to you. You can also get 500, why not? He can spend it on pastel de nata, he can spend it on you, I think. So let's
Don't
type
spend
in
all of my money, please.
You deserve
you
it. And it has a high priority as well. Next. So the transfer is complete. Let's go back to the account, and it has subtracted from the total amount of money that Flávio has. But it seems to work. It's all fine, but let's look behind the scenes and see what it actually looks like. So this is Surface Studio, as we all know it, and this is the account overview, what I was looking at just now. The first thing that we thought about what juniors tend to do is make spaceships. So I made a spaceship for this presentation, and I'm curious if you've seen worse than this. Probably you have. So there are at least 8 mistakes going here. So I hope you can find all of them. The first one for sure is being that there are multiple loops going through the same aggregate. A junior might not realize that less code is better, so always and less looping is also better. So try and make it into one loop. It is probably possible. Also, calculating a sum can be done inside an aggregate, as well as a mean or half mean. All of these things you can just reduce. And of course, the main problem here is that it's not readable at all. So make sure you have readable lines and it's not such a mess as this. So let's go on to the next junior mistake that we all think, I think we all know. So let's go to transfer new. And this is the other page I showed you. It's in which you can make a transfer and you can add a level of importance. So we had low, medium and high, and I hope most of you will immediately realize, let's make a static entity. Because
it's not?
It's not Flávio, I'm so sorry. A junior has just made a list, because a junior might not realize a static entity is even a possibility or is something you should use here. So the junior has made a list here. So on initialize, we have made a list append, low, medium and high, and it's just hard-coded like this.
Since you are not a junior anymore, why we should avoid this?
Very good question. Why should we avoid this? Why is this such bad practice? And that's because you have to understand, if you want to reuse this, so the low, medium, high, you want to put it somewhere else in your code, you have to make this list again. And this makes for repeatable code. You don't want to do this because it's very unmaintainable. Also, imagine wanting to change the language, you would have to change it in at least 2 places already. Another reason why it's bad, I can show you in the account details page, in which we have a filter on which color this tag should be. So I can show you here, expression editor. So depending whether it's low, medium or high, it has a different color. So it's hard-coded now because we don't have anything else to compare it with. This should definitely be an identifier of a static entity because it's way more maintainable. Like an example is, what if I want to have without capitals on both places? Then you have to change it again at both places. So this is something you always want to avoid. Let's go back to the transfer new again, because there's another junior mistake here. It's in the next button. So next on click. So here I want to post a transaction, and I also want to update the account cash because the money has been reduced. However, a junior just sees, I can publish, what's the problem? I don't want to change anything else. However, as a more experienced developer now, you don't want to ignore these warnings because they say what's wrong with them. You can see it calls several server actions, and this this creates performance issues.
Yeah, and then a warning, it will be a bug in the future, for sure.
For sure, yes, definitely. So what I want to do, delete this, because I have a beautiful server action here, and it already includes this all.
What
and I
an
can
amazing
just drag it in.
Best title ever.
A junior thinks, amazing title, because it says exactly what's in there, right? Well, this is horrible. No one understands what's happening here. No one wants to read it. And to be honest, another developer thinks, he sees another server action and it's called add transfer account. Amazing. Let me just drag this one in because it seems like a way more logical name.
And do you have descriptions for the actions?
Well, descriptions could also make the name more clear, definitely. So let's see what this description says. It does 2 things.
Okay. Really clear.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah,
it's not wrong, but let's make better descriptions for your co-workers, and we can have way more maintainable code. So that was the little demo I wanted to show you. In summary, so if we go to the next slide, we have the 5 key points that are really important for any developer. It's maintainability, reusability, performance, architecture, and security. And you have to understand that for a junior, these concepts might be a little bit vague. So for anyone working with juniors, please always refer to these key points. As for me, I can tell you this helped me a lot. For example, maintainability, you have to see these spaceships and understand this is not maintainable and this is a very important thing to have in your code. Reusability, use static entities, it's important. And performance, don't just put server action after server action in your client action. Security is something Leon will talk about, so give the word to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
I'll provide you.
Thank you very much. You're so nice. So here we are going to talk a little bit about how to test your work, and we will start with the most common sentences said by junior developers.
People will correlate for sure.
Everyone will know them. They are the classics. Let's start with number 1. I tested everything. You can validate it. Especially for people who really started. I know a year ago, I think I tested it properly. I went to the tech lead, I said, you can test it. He did 1 or 2 things, and it completely broke down. The more you know, the more you are familiar with development, the better your testing will be. So really keep learning on that. That's very important. Number 2, it was working 5 minutes ago. It's even you have said this, Flávio, probably a lot of times.
All of them.
Maybe if a wrong merge, something happened, someone else did something wrong. But someone else. Yeah. Probably you did it wrong yourself, but you didn't look properly. It happens to everyone. It's the classic just before the demo. And number 3, I don't understand where the error is, which is kind of the focus of the demo I will provide in a minute. It can sometimes be difficult to see if there's a problem in the application, and if there's a problem, how you find out what and where the problem is and how to fix it.
I think that the message is, if you have an error, don't stop looking for it and don't go directly to your tech lead to say, oh, I have an error, please help me. Try yourself to solve it.
You can learn a lot from it, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go to the demo and let's have a look into the same application and see if we can actually find some problems. So I will close this.
I think I built it right, so
You
no
de-
problem.
I don't know. I
Are you
don't know.
going to test Marjolein's work?
I will try and test Marjoleine's work. So Marjolein, you did the transaction, right?
Yes.
Let's see if it went through. So this is the big boss secret money account, but it's not there. There's only one transaction here, which means Marjoleine's transaction she put through didn't work. So Marjolein didn't test her work properly, but we can see if we are able to fix that.
Yes.
So let's have a look. What happens when we do a transaction?
Amazing code to hide the transactions from your wife or something like that.
Yeah, it's perfect. So let's have a look in the same screen. It is the transfer new screen, which has the next on click action. Well, we'll leave this like this. It should be in one server action, but hey, let's leave that for now. We do here a post transaction. So let's see what that does. Let's open it, and it's in the BankIS module. So let's go in there and see what actually happens. So we here, it's a very simple action actually. It just calls one API, and that one API is just a post transaction. So okay, let's have a look in the API and see what happens in there.
We didn't include circuit breakers because we didn't have time.
If you're very good and you listen to Killian's presentation,
Yeah.
you would know that circuit breakers could be very important when calling an API. But in here we see that the transaction create is called. So let's have a look what is the input of that. Everything seems to be correct. We have an account ID, an amount, a description, a date time. We put it as an expense and it has a certain level. Everything seems fine.
But the account ID can be the input or the sender, right?
It's a good point. I think you're right, because if we look here, we see account ID and we see account ID input. So what that could mean is that we probably maybe took the wrong one. So let's have a look. If we can find out what is actually happening. So let's go to the integrations log. And probably this has reset. Of course it has. Funny thing is, I don't know Marjoleine's password.
Let me fill it in.
You know, you can plan for everything, but some things just show up on you.
Yeah.
But Marjolein,
Yeah,
Marjolein loves security, so she didn't save the password in her Chrome account. She didn't save the password in her Chrome account, which is actually a good point of security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good for showing. So let's have a look over there and see if we can find what happened. We can see here that the action I just performed had an error.
And don't use this name of modules as a reference, please.
I won't. Yeah. As we can see here, we see that an error occurred. We can see that in the stack it kind of indicates where the problem occurred. So if we look in here, we see, okay, the transaction create action was called, but we don't know exactly what went wrong. So one way to have a look is to go to the integrations of that specific API, and we can change the logging level. So if we have three options. In this case, let's put it to full. As it says, this may have an impact on performance. So we will apply it now and have a look. But if you want to go to acceptance, go to production, please make sure that it's off if you don't need it.
But what is the difference between these two?
What's the difference? That's a good question. So let's do another transaction and see if we can actually find the difference, because we need to put another log in. So let's put some more money in. Let's put the money to me again because I really like money and Flávio has enough. So
It's sad that I don't get
In
any.
theory,
but
yes,
okay.
that's true.
in theory it's true. In practice, yeah,
Yeah.
you never know. So let's have a look at the application. The transaction should go through. As you can see, it was completed, but as we know, it's not correct fully. And let's have a look at the integrations log again. So here we see the overview again. There's a new error. We can open this one, and let's have a look what the log now says. So as you can see, there's an HTTP trace added now, which has some more information. As you can see here, we are provided with the input of the API call. So we have the account ID, the amount, and everything we just filled in. So as you can see here, the amount ID that is filled in is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the number I just put in the transaction. However, it should be not the number we want to send it to, but the number we want to send it from. So let's have a look and see if we can change that. And then we go back to the action I just showed you, and now you can see the problem already with naming conventions. This should be not the account ID input, because that's very unclear, but it could, for example, be the account ID sender. And then if we're really, really meticulous, we should change this to the account ID of the receiver. And that way, by also adding a description, it's way more clear what account ID means what. So we now changed the name, and let's also change it to the sender here, so we're making sure that everything is going from into the correct account. And let's publish the API to see if our fix is actually a fix or it's just nothing at all.
And the structures from the API are you using the ones from the API or are you creating a specific
No, we're actually,
one?
if you look at here, we have made public structures from the structures in the API. So this is also, sorry.
And why?
Well, because if a change happens in the API, then it could just break out of nowhere and then you will have no influence on it. By using the public structures, even if a change in the API occurs,
You can control.
we can still control it and we'll still have working software and we can make the
it's
changes later.
Maintainability here.
It's amazing.
I would guess one of the 5 key points. Don't forget them.
So let's do another transaction. And I mean, let's make it bigger this time. I don't think he sends me enough money.
Could you please say again, per stage not?
Pastéis de nata.
Amazing.
Thank you. I'm really practicing on my Portuguese. I will even write it for you because, you know, that's just how I am. Let's do another transaction and see what happens. It's a bit quicker this time even. Let's go into the account. And we see here, 18th of November, 14:35, Pastéis de nata, everything went through. So we found the problem. We were able to fix it quickly. We tested it, and now the tech lead has a smile on his face.
Yes.
Thank you. So, as you can see, it can be difficult to find problems, especially in APIs. What I personally encountered as well while making timers or processes, that you can have problems in those, and if you have a problem, you don't know exactly where it is, and you will try to use the debugger. In some smaller companies, there's one server, it's fine, everything can be accessed easily, but in bigger companies, you can have multiple servers that execute the timers and the processes, and it can be difficult to access them. So one thing I've learned from Flávio and also from other tech leads is to just make a front-end application. A front-end application that just has one button with a client action in it, and then we just call the action we would call in the process or in the timer.
Yeah, because with that you don't need to test the end-to-end, you just need to test,
We can just
part
test
of
the
it,
action,
yeah.
and then we can enter the debug, and then we can always
Yeah.
at least more easily find where the problem is. So Marjolein also announced I would tell something about security. So let's actually do that and have a look what we can do. Well, because we built this application, we kind of know what we can test with and what we can play around with. So let's go into the application and see if we can find some issues. Well, if we go back to the account details screen, the screen we were just on, we see here that there's an account ID input. And if you're experienced, and also for us now we know that it's not good. You don't want IDs as input because they can be easily changed. You want maybe something else. But let's have a look if it actually is a problem in this case. So let's go back to the application and let's see what the URL looks like in this case. Well, we see it's still an account overview, but let's change that. Let's go to the details page and we want to say, okay, we want to say the account ID. Well, let's see, maybe I hacked the application beforehand and I know all the account IDs of everyone, and I know, for example, that Marjolein, you know, her number is
exposed here.
Let's go to Marjoleine's thing because we know it's 13. You know, not everyone is rich. You can be in the minus. It happens. You know, it happens.
I know you can.
Flávio needs to still send some extra money. So as you can see here, we changed the account in the URL. Immediately, we accessed a different account. This should never happen.
How can we control that?
We can do a number of things. Two examples are, or one example is that we can add a GUID to an entity. So don't use the ID as an input for the page, but use the GUID from that entity to access the page. That adds ambiguity, but it does not necessarily add security, because what you get is that someone can still, in theory, guess the GUID.
You really pay attention to Kilian's session.
I was about to say, please watch Kilian's session for this, because he will go over all the solutions that you can do for this. So we'll tell you after which session this exactly is.
And then as a second point, what we can also do, what's actually more important, is actually control access to the data.
Yeah.
So if a user tries to access a page, check, does that user have access to that data? If not, in some way deny that user access, or maybe check in an aggregate, or take other measures to prevent that user accessing the data, so we don't get a result like this. So that was my part for the testing, and I'll throw it back to Flávio.
Yeah, you have your summary, but
it's okay.
I think that Okay, basically it was a short session, but we would like to present you some, in our perspective, what are the important things as a junior element. Okay, you always need to follow the best practices. It's crucial for the project and for your personal growth. Use architecture dashboard frequently because it's like having automatic tech lead providing you feedback about the most common mistakes and how to solve it. You will create some awareness about the bad patterns to avoid. Code peer review. If in your team you have a code peer review process, developers can provide feedback to each other and can learn and understand other ways to do the things, and you can improve, and it's better to invest some time on peer review than in solving bugs.
Yeah, it really helps.
Okay, use community forums because your current challenge, maybe it was someone's challenge in the past and a solution maybe is waiting for you in the comments. If you don't find it, please create a new thread and start a discussion. Okay, this is really important, don't assume, ask, because as a junior, normally a junior gets confident in a project and starts assuming things, telling the client, yes, I will do this, it's 5 minutes, but sometimes it's not, and you need to always understand and validate with the most experienced elements if what we are accepting has or doesn't have any kind of impact in the plan. Okay, and for the tech leads that are attending, an important message is to be the tech lead you wanted when you were a junior. Because you need to remember that you were already a junior, and you need to be supportive and provide some kind of feedback for them one day be at your shoes. And yeah.
Yeah, so like we mentioned already, there are more sessions that our colleagues also did, so we would like to inform you on these, and please watch them. You can watch them on demand because we were the last ones to do our presentation. So yeah, watch them. I'm sure you will like them and learn a lot more from those. And then if you want our contact information, you can contact us on our LinkedIn profiles. These are the ones, and also follow our LinkedIn for Team Resilience because we post regularly there.
Okay, let's go to the questions.
Yep, perfect.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yes. So I think this one is for us, Marjolein.
Yeah, I see it.
Did Flávio ever annoy you guys? Do you think tech leads can be annoying too?
100%.
I think.
You are saying that because the appraisal was already, otherwise you will not answer like this.
No, but I think one of the things that Flávio once did is that he worked really late and then he changed a bunch of things, and then we came back the next day and we were like, what has happened to the application?
Yeah, it's sometimes.
Sometimes
Yeah.
he goes rogue.
The thing is, to avoid merge conflicts with you guys, I need to make the things during the night.
Yeah.
Okay?
But you can understand if you put a lot of work in there as well, it just feels like, oh my God, what happened? Where is everything?
Yeah.
However, it's only improving, so we should let that go too, of course.
Okay, let's go to the second question. What were your own worst mistakes? Yeah, I have an answer for this. Once during the UAT week, I dropped all the test data in the testing environment because I forgot to switch off the schedule for the timer. And basically it took us 2 or 3 days just to rebuild the data model to test. It was really, really bad. And you?
My worst mistake, I have to ask João basically because he was the first one. I made so many mistakes. The worst one, I can't think of one now. I'm sorry, I will think on it.
I think we'll probably make a mistake in the future that will be big enough.
100%, yeah.
Yes.
The next one, what's the line between asking too many questions and too little questions to your tech lead? I guess you have to just trust your gut feeling, because for me, when I was doubting a little bit, I knew afterwards I should have asked, because it saves you so much time, because that's maybe also a worst mistake immediately, because the amount of times I had to redo some piece of code is just a waste of time, but also you learn from it, of course, because you can see both solutions and you can actually see the improvement that you made. But yeah,
and
just
that's the point as well, because if you are making 2 questions, yes, but the best thing is to don't ask the same thing twice or more than twice, because you are not writing or
writing things down, yeah.
But it's better to make questions than rework.
Yes.
And that's the message, the major message is like, yes, maybe in the beginning you will have a lot of questions, but it's better to make questions, don't assume, and ask, because reworking, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and maybe timing. So you can't ask too many questions if the tech lead has time, because question is always good if you can learn from it, but always think on what is the good timing. So maybe Flávio is really busy, and then it would be good for me to figure it out a little bit more myself.
Yeah, but you as well, you have your colleagues to ask, even if they have less experience than the others, but at least you have a different point of view, what is really important. Have a discussion between the team members, and after, if you don't reach an agreement, and even if you reach an agreement, it's better to confirm. Okay, what is the line between asking, no, this one we already answered.
There's one for you there.
How many boot campers can you support at the same time in your team? How much time do you spend per person? Yeah, that's a good question. To be honest, I don't have an answer, but it depends on the project, because if the project is really complex, I need to have some time to discuss with the architects and other things, other persons from the company, from the clients, and it depends. But I would say a lot of time. It's not an exact measure, but a lot of time, because. But I think that we have the trade-off, because if we invest a lot of time on the members with less experience, we will have the results in the future, because you will start asking less questions.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's.
If you look at us now, we're here for a year and we've made so much progress. I think it's exponentially. The first 6 months we made a bunch of progress, but even in the last 6 months it's going so quick. And I think that's also because there's direct support, and it really helps us.
Yeah, I think that the secret is to expose you to challenges, and you will grow, and you will need other challenge, and it will be more complex. Yeah. How to annoy the whole company, from Wouter?
Well,
I don't know.
Maybe so what may annoy me, and I'm part of a company of course, is if a project is very closed off, so you're not really included even though you're on another project. So I guess just always include what's happening in your project, and be open to questions from elsewhere. So in Team Resilience right now, we're really trying to open this up a little bit more. So and asking the team every week. So we don't only have questions for our own tech lead. We can ask anyone in the whole company. So it's a way to annoy them to not do this, to keep very close off, I think.
Yeah.
Can do for the next one. When to do code review with your team?
Always.
Well, always, but as we currently, how we set it up now is that everyone has their own user story, of course. Yeah. We finish our user story, we are responsible to test it ourselves, and then it's in the sprint, and then one of the other team members can pick it up for peer review, and it should always be peer reviewed by someone else, even if it is as simple as adding a button which changes a small thing. It should always be peer reviewed by someone else.
It's our current process.
It's our current process. At
the end of the sprint, we will validate everything to understand if, in an integrated way, everything is okay. Because you can test a user story, it was okay. Someone made a change, but before we deploy to the next environment, we are making validation
and
of
then
all
even
user stories.
The small mistakes that can do in, like a description is missing, or some comments need to be added, even things like that will be checked in the peer review, and that really makes all the code more readable and maintainable.
And remember, it's not only junior code that is being code reviewed. Everyone's
all
code,
the code.
Because everyone can
even
forget
the tech lead code.
Exactly.
Found some big mistakes in there.
Yeah. Don't reveal everything.
Sorry.
Okay, in which ways do you code review and feedback with the devs? One-to-one, group, round tables? Oh, really nice question. I had some situations where providing feedback to the team through in a channel with all the members. Sometimes, and it depends on the members that are there, because each one has his own personality. You need to figure out what is best for the team. If your team is really sensible, it's better to provide one-on-one. But I guess that I prefer to do it in a group, in a Teams channel, because someone's mistake can be the other mistake, or can be in the future. And it's better to provide feedback, and all have access to the feedback, and they all can understand from some other's mistakes.
Yeah, but at least make sure it's documented. So we document it in our user story system. Yeah. So we at least have always documented what are the exact problems, and then it's just easy to, if you have fixed all the problems, because otherwise they can be like disappear.
Yeah, and it's like a knowledge base. If you are storing the resolutions for some mistakes, we can go and access in the future. We can search and it's the best way to materialize the knowledge that you learn, that you are creating.
Sure.
And I don't know, our moderator, are okay?
Perfect. We can maybe go to the review in the end, the scores.
Yeah, let's see what you guys thought of this session.
Yeah.
Oh, really good.
It's amazing.
Nice feedback.
If the average is stay like this, I will pay you the beers
Amazing.
Nice. You have a lot of money, so.
And
Yeah.
dinner.
from my account,
Yeah,
from my
yeah.
Team Resilience account.
Perfect. And then I
Okay.
think we have one more in the end which you can show, which will provide some small word cloud about the thing. So I think.
Which one?
Where's your one?
I think this is also kind of the goal for the presentation. It should
Yes.
be interesting, but it should also be a little bit fun and relatable. You know, tech leads have seen these issues. Juniors have probably made the mistakes, and I think everyone in their
And
in
it's
their way
like
can learn from
This
it.
presentation, we are exposing us and try to do something different because it's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I hope
perfect.
you guys laughed a little bit at home and thought it was funny, and hopefully next year we can do it in real life, a similar presentation, or completely different. We can make it very technical.
Yeah.
Let's see what we come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy.